Hello, the student of class 11. We will read the book Hornbill, lesson number 2. We are not afraid to die if we can all be together. Let's open your book and read. Read the lesson. In July 1976, my wife Mary, son Jonathan, 6, daughter Suzanne, 7, and I set sail from Plymouth, England to duplicate to round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. For the longest time, Mary and I, a 30 years old businessman, had dreamed of sailing in the wake of the famous explorer, and for the past 16 years we had spent all our leisure time honing our seafaring skills in British waters. The narrator describes about his voyage, who wanted to voyage with his family, son, his wife Mary, son Jonathan, who was 6 years old at that time, and daughter Suzanne was 7 years old at that time. Our boat, Babe Walker, a 23 meters, 30-ton wooden build, had been professionally built, and we had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weather we could find. He built a professional ship which was 23 meters long and 30 tons wooden, and many times he tested it. The first leg of our planned 3 years, 105,000 kilometers journey passed pleasantly as we sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. There, before heading east, we took on 2 crewmen, American Larry Weasel and Swiss Herb Segler, to help to tackle one of the world's roughest seas, the Southern Indian Ocean. They began their journey with the help of 2 crewmen and experienced sailor, American Larry Weasel and Swiss Herb Segler. On the second day of the Cape Town, we began to encounter strong gales. For the next few weeks, they blew continuously. Gales did not worry me, but the size of the waves was alarming, up to 15 meters as high as our main mast. December 25, found at 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Despite atrocious weather, we had a wonderful holiday, complete with a Christmas tree. New Year's Day saw to improvement in the weather, but we passed that it had to change soon, and it did change for the worse. At dawn on January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. We were sailing with only a small storm jib and were still making 8 knots. As the ship rose to the top of each wave, we could see endless, enormous seas reeling towards us, and the screaming of the wind and spray was painful to the ears. To slow the boat down, we dropped the storm jib and lashed a heavy moving rope in a loop across the stern. Then we doubled lashed everything, went throughout life raft drill. attracted lifeless doomed oil skins and life jackets and waited. On the January 2nd, the waves were so gigantic they troubled the wave walker and the crewmen. They speed slowed down their knots. The first inclination of the impending disaster came at the 6 p.m. with an with with enormous silence. The wind dropped, and the day immensely grew dark. Then came a growing roar and an enormous cloud towards up of the sea. With horror, I realized that it was not a cloud, but a wave like to other I had ever seen. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves, with a frightful breaking create. The roar increased to a thunder as the semi moved up the face of the wave, and for a moment I thought we might ride over it, but then a tremendous explosion shook the deck. A terror of green and white waves. Water broke over the ship. My head smashed into the wheel, and I was aware of flying overboard and sinking below the waves. I accepted my approaching death, and as I was losing consciousness, I felt quite peaceful. At the 6 p.m., the enormous and gigantic wave came, and the deck of the sea filled with water, and the narrator smashed by the waves and smashed his ribs and head against in front of the walls. Unexpectedly, my head popped out of the water a few meters away. Wave Walker was near capsizing, her masts almost horizontal. Then a wave hurled her up. Light and jacket. And I grabbed the ground rails and sailed through the air into the wave water's man boom. Subsequent waves tossed me around the deck like a rag doll. My left ribs cracked, my mouth filled with blood and broken teeth. Somehow I found the wheel lined up the stern for the next day and hung on. Water everywhere. I could feel that the ship had water view, but I dared not abandon our wheel to investigate. Suddenly, the front hatch was thrown open and Mary appeared. We were sinking. She screamed, the decks are smashed, we are full of water. All the family and the crewmen filled with the water in the ship. They began and thought about the death is approaching near to him. Take the wheel, I shouted as I scrambled for the hatch. Leg and hair were pumping like madmen. Broken timbers hung at crazy angles. The whole dark side burned towards cloths, crockery, jars, tins, and toys scattered out a day water. I had sworn half crowd into the children's cabin. Are you all right? I asked. Yes, they answered from upper bunk, but my head hurt a bit, and pointing to a big pump above her eyes. I had no time to worry about bumped hands. After finding a hammer, screws, and canvas, I struggled back on deck with the starboard side raised open. We were taking water with each wave and broke over us. If I couldn't make some repair, we would surely sink. Somehow I managed to stretch canvas and secure waterproof hatch covers across the getting holes. Some water continues to stern blues, but most of the was now being deflected over the side. More problems rose when our hand pump started to block up and ducts floating around the cables and the electric pump short circuits. The rose threatening. Back on deck, I found that our two spare hand pumps had been raised overboard, along with the heavy say the jeep main water. Then I remembered we had another electric pump under the chart room floor. I commented it to out and within pull to find had a method. By morning on January 3, the pump had the water level sufficient under control to take 2 hours rest in Malaysians, but we said had a tremendous leak. Somewhere blew the water line and the cheek on checking. I found that nearly all the boat's main big frames were smashed down to the keel. In fact, there was nothing holding up a whole section of the subboard except of the cardboard bankers. We had survived for 15 hours since the wave hit. The wave water would hold together long months for the reach and Australia. I settled our challenge and embraced the fire. At last, on January 4 and 36 hours continuous pumping, we reached the last few centimeters of water. Now we had only to keep PAPs and the water is still coming in. Pull the damaged section of the hull. So we hoisted the storm jib and waited her when I thought the crew his lands were many, found some concealed beef and crackers, biscuits, and we ate for our first meal in almost 2 days. But the respite was downside, and at last the right hand, when they began to, their family said, if they are not offered to die, his doctor said they are not offered to die if they could all be together. Now, see the summary of the lesson. The story, we are not offered to die,
If we can all be together is a story of extreme courage and skill exhibited by Gordon Cook, his family and crewmen in a war with water and waves for survival. In July 1976, the narrator, his wife Mary, son Jonathan, 6 years, and his wife Mary, 37 years old, and daughter Suzanne, near about 7 years old, set sail from Plymouth, England to duplicate round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. They took the voyage in the professionally built ship, the Wade Walker, accompanied by two experienced sailors, Larry Weasel, an American, and Harold Sessler, a Swiss, to tackle one of the world's roughest sea, the southern Indian Ocean. The first part of the journey, that is about 105,000 kilometers up to Cape Town, passed off very pleasantly. On second day, out of Cape Town, they began to encounter strong gales. Gales did not worry the narrator, but the size of the waves was alarming up to 15 meters high. At dawn on January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. Unfriendly weather and gigantic waves compelled the sailors to slow their speed from storm jib. Suddenly at 6 p.m., a tremendous explosion shook the Wade Walker and Arthur was thrown overboard. The ship was about capsized when another gigantic wave hit it, tossing up right once again. The author was thrown back again on the deck, his head and ribs smashing against the walls. Sue and John were injured, but they said they are not afraid to die if they could all be together. Now you have to complete some questions which we are giving for your homework. What kind of preparation did the narrator before starting the journey? Only one question you have to complete your homework. Now the lesson has completed. Thank you.